This conference will
I'd like
now
to
be
thank
recorded.
everyone that's on the meeting tonight, and concerning citizens items not on the agenda. For this and subsequent meetings during the stay-at-home order, we are suspending the opportunity for citizens to address the mayor and city council during our open meetings. Your concerns and input are still very important to us. Please address your concerns directly to your city council member by phone or email, or to the city clerk by phone or email. All issues will be investigated, researched, or addressed as necessary, and with the consensus of the city council, be placed on future agendas. For information specifically regarding COVID-19 or the coronavirus, please visit the CDC's www.cdc.gov site at www.coronavirus 866-534-3463, or the Wyandotte County Health Department's website at www.wicokck.org/coronavirus. All of these websites are available on the bonnersprings.org website under the coronavirus tab. Those and many other websites with a bounty of information. Moving along, we'll go right on into our consent agenda.
Do we want a roll call?
Oh, in an effort to meet all of the open meeting requirements that the Attorney General has indicated as late as this afternoon, I would like to have a roll call. If we could start with a roll call, each person unmute and state your name and that you're here. Who do you want to start with? We'll start with Chris Wood.
Chris Wood is here.
Jordan Mackey. Unmute, please, Jordan.
Jordan Mackey is here.
Thank you. Mike Thompson.
Mike Thompson is here.
Very good. Danny Gurley. Danny Gurley. We'll come back to Danny Gurley. Roger Shannon.
Roger Shannon's here.
Mark Kipp.
Mark Kipp is here.
Tom Stevens.
Tom Stevens present.
Bob Reeves.
Bob Reeves is here.
Danny Gurley.
Danny Gurley is present.
Thank you. All city council persons are here and are accounted for. On to the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes the minutes of the March 9th, 2020 City Council meeting, claims for city operations, claims for the Public Housing Authority, appointments to boards and commissions, the 2020 job descriptions for city employees. I'd entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
The consent agenda has been moved for approval and by Councilman Reeves and seconded by Councilman Mackey. All those in favor, please, with a voice vote.
Yeah, voice vote.
Starting with Councilman Woods.
Yes.
Councilman Mackey.
Yes.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Councilman Gurley.
Yes.
Councilman Reeves.
Yes.
Councilman Stevens,
Yes.
Councilman Kipp,
Yes.
Shannon.
Councilman Shannon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to old business. The first of which is a public hearing for Wilkerson Crane Industrial Revenue Bonds. We'll actually have two actions. Due to negotiations, we're needing to continue to table this to the next meeting,
Which is April 13th.
which is April 13th. The first action will be to make a motion to open the public hearing at 7:39.
This is Tom Stevens. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing at 7:39 PM.
Roger Shannon, second.
So moved and seconded to open the public meeting at 7:39. Roll call vote, please.
Mackey,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Wood. Unmute, please, Wood.
Wood says yes, but did you notice it says 7:30 on the actual minutes instead of 7:39?
That's for the second motion.
Oh,
That's
okay.
to continue it for the April 13th. So we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Gurley? Yes. Kip?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Reeves?
Reeves votes yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Due to the negotiations continuing, I would entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to the April 13th, 2020 meeting at 7:30 PM.
Mr. Mayor, Jordan Mackey, I make a motion to continue the public hearing for April 13th, 2020 at 7:30 PM.
Second. Reeves,
second.
We have a motion and a second to continue the public hearing to April 13th, 2020 at 7:30 PM. Roll call vote, please.
Gurley? Yes. Kip?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you so much. We'll be moving on to new business. The first new business item is the Government Services Center change order request. We have a staff presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Sean. In front of you all this evening are several change order requests. They include both additions and deductions for various items related to the government services project, the City Hall, as well as the police facility. We also have Dirk and Dana available on this call if there are any specific questions about any of the items listed on the change order, our change order request, but ultimately we're looking for approval of all of these change orders as listed.
Very good. Thank you very much. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, Roger Shannon, I'll make a motion to approve the change order request as presented.
Tom Stevens, second.
Been moved and seconded. We have a vote. I'll go ahead and ask if we can have comments, concerns from the council, and we'll do that in a roll call manner. And Christine, will ask in order.
Shannon,
No questions.
Mackey,
Mackey here. Sean, I was curious on I went through all the bills and each one lists a bond fee, a KBS sub fee, and a KBS general fee. And those increase the bill by about 27% or 26%. Can you help me understand why those are on there?
Several of those are included within the actual contract that we have with KBS. That's actually specified or was specified in their bid documents to say that their fees would be at certain percentages based upon what they are. So, long story short is that they were agreed upon fees as far as what they could charge at the onset of this contract, and KBS is making those requests. Again, there's a specific bond fee as well, which is just an overall increase to the project value. But again, those are requests that are being made by KBS, which is spelled out within our initial contract with them. So it is something that we've previously approved to include or allow for, rather.
Okay. Why do they have a sub fee if we hired them as our sub?
Dirk, Dana, I'm not sure if you guys can maybe provide any additional insight into how those typically work.
Is anyone on? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
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 Is anyone with KBS on the line?
Repeat that, please.
What is the sub fee for? Is that you, Joel? They're asking if you could explain what the general contractor fee and then the sub fee includes.
Some of the change orders contain it and some of them don't. This is Councilman Mackey, and I was asking about it.
Joel, are you on the call?
I'm not sure we have anybody from KBS on the call right now.
Okay. It would be best to respond to this, but and again, Sean mentioned this was in when they submitted their bid. This was part of their bid that their subs charge a fee, and then KBS has their general contracting fee. So I believe the subs fee is 10%. Dirk, help me out. And then the contractor's fee, one of them's 10 and one of them's 15.
Dana, this is Councilman Mackey here. The general fee is typically the one that reads as 10% on most of them. And then the sub fee, it's hit or miss, but that's the one that's 15%.
Yeah, and there's not always going to be a sub fee because.
All right, Dana, this is Dirk. Basically, when KBS's subcontractor can do the full extent of the work, they charge 15% markup on the subcontractor that they hired, versus if it's just a management fee or KBS covering general conditions, they charge 10%. It's basically how it pencils out.
This is Councilman Mackey. Were those negotiated ahead of time? Or I guess I'm curious on how is this only for the change orders?
It was part of their bid. So when we asked all of the bidders to submit their bid, we asked for this specific information. So it was listed as when they submitted their bid number, and they included the time frame for construction. This was also part of what they submitted. So they submitted what their subs were going to charge as a fee for change orders and what they would be charging for fees as change orders. So this is for change orders, correct?
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. I guess you answered my questions. I don't have any further with that. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thompson, any questions?
Thompson, no questions.
Wood?
Nope, no, but I don't think you spell the word purge, P-A-R-G-E, on one of them. Do we need to worry about things like that, though? I mean, seriously, sometimes spelling mistakes make we don't have
Contract
to
null
follow
void.
that. Yeah. It's COR 065 City Hall at 812 to Parge and Unseen Stone Bump. And there were some other things, but I don't even know if that matters.
Parge
That's my
Parge
question.
should be spelled P-A-R-G-E.
And
Parge
Parge
is
with a
spelled
T.
P-A-R-G.
It's a type of infilling stone wall, actually. So it's spelled
Okay.
correctly. Actually.
All right.
It is spelled
I've learned
correctly.
something.
Yeah. It's a cementitious purging.
I won't defend them though. They've had some misspellings before, and I do agree that it's important.
Was that Dirk?
All right, Gurley, any questions?
I'm sorry, who
Gurley?
are you calling, Chris? Thank you. Just running quick math, are we looking at a total of, I have 40,197.38. Does that sound right? Does anyone else math it?
I did not add them all up.
Not huge, just curious. Okay. No questions. Thank you.
Kip?
No questions.
Stevens?
Stevens has no additional questions.
Reeves?
No additional questions.
All right, thank you very much. Seeing no other questions, I'd entertain a roll call vote.
Wood?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes, with hesitation.
Thank you.
Gurley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. On to our next item, which is our purchase of a 2021 Freightliner dump truck. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. It's Matt Beets, Deputy Director of Public Works. Tonight we are making the recommending that you approve the purchase of a 2021 Freightliner dump truck for the wastewater treatment plant. Back in 2007, we purchased two other trucks. They were single axles to haul basically the sludge down to the landfill. We put some math together this year and I looked at how many trips we'd made to and from the landfill, and actually it makes sense to buy a little larger truck, a tandem axle in this case. We can actually reduce our trips from 208 trips using last year's figures down to 70. It's a reduction of about 138 trips. That also saves us hours for a driver. It's about 45 minutes to an hour roughly down and back, and So we could see some savings right there with that. Any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Gurley, I would make a motion to approve awarding the bid to purchase a 2021 Freightliner 108 SD dump truck with a stainless steel bed to Kansas City Freightliner in the amount of $124,037.
Second, Roger Shannon.
So moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments from the council by roll call.
Reeves,
What are we still using the old truck?
The old truck will be retired. We have two of them actually, so this is the purchase of the first one. We had intended on purchasing this truck last year, but with some issues we had with lift station number 3, this got postponed for a year. This truck will have the stainless steel bed, which will won't rust out quite like the other two are currently now. So then, this one we'll auction off the old existing truck we have now.
Okay, I probably should have clarified my question that they're going to be using this truck. We're going to get rid of it completely, not using it someplace else besides with the water department or wastewater.
That's correct. No, we will not.
Okay.
Stevens,
Just out of curiosity, the truck that we are retaining, will it continue? You said it'll be continued to be used as a backup. Does it need any structural improvements at all, like the bed or anything, to make it a feasible unit? Or
Well, out of the two trucks, this one, the one that we are not replacing this year, is the better of the two. Both of them do have some holes in the bed of the trucks. We've tried to weld as many of them closed as we can, but we believe we can get the truck that we're going to keep serviceable for at least another year.
Tom Stevens, no additional questions.
Kip,
Do we know, maybe Sean or Tilly, what type of sales tax revenue decrease we're looking at? Any kind of precautions as far as allocating cash?
For this particular issue, this is coming out of one of our enterprise funds. So this isn't going to be affected by any downturn necessarily in sales tax as a result of the issues that we're seeing right now. But more generally, Billy and I have gone through and started to look at some of the precautionary steps that we need to take as far as capital expenditures are concerned. The 2 cents that I have on that is that as far as our budget is concerned with expenses this year, yes, we need to be mindful, but where the biggest impact is going to likely affect us is next year's budget, because ultimately we're spending last year's cash this year. But again, for this particular item, it shouldn't be, it would not necessarily be affected because of sales tax downturn. This is coming from water, wastewater, or excuse me, it's going to be just wastewater paying for this purchase.
Okay, I understand a lot of the expenses are coming in budgeted, but it'll be mindful of the future. So any kind of things we can save money on like this, like to really look at that if we can have any data on what type of fall off will be for next year, if any.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have that information as that's kind of coming at us. And again, we are being extremely mindful of that. Good case in point would be the simple closure of the casino is a pretty significant impact to us on a month-to-month basis as far as money coming into the city as a result of that enterprise.
Gurley,
Matt, about how much more life expectancy will we get out of the stainless steel bed versus the standard bed?
You know, quite a bit more. The material that we're hauling down to the waste or down to the landfill is very toxic and very corrosive. Before it was a steel bed. I mean, you're looking at right now we've got, was that 13 years out of just a steel? So a stainless steel will last a whole lot longer. Most of the items inside the wastewater treatment plant are currently stainless steel, so they're meant to last and hold up to this kind of product.
Okay. And educate the ignorant, a tandem unit is a dump truck with a separate axle trailer, for lack of a better word?
Well, a tandem trailer actually has two sets of wheels in the back, or two axles. And then there, you got your front ones, and then you got the two in the back. It'll allow them to carry more heavier weights. I mean, I believe a single axle in this truck would be around 6 tons. With this tandem axle, it's close to 14. So quite a bit more weight.
That's from kids would call that a dually.
Dually's like 2 sets of tires on each side in the back. This is like 4 tires in the back, yeah, with 2 axles.
Thank you. I'm catching up. I'm getting there. No further questions. Thank you.
What?
I really appreciate the questions that have been asked. I don't have any additional ones.
Thompson?
No other questions.
Mackey?
Matt, I wanted to say thank you for the additional research. It's truly appreciated. As well as, would you happen to know an approximate of what we think we're going to get from auction from the current vehicle, or like the, I guess, quote unquote, blue book value of what it could potentially be?
Typically, we put these out on Purple Wave, so your guess is about as good as mine, unless you're looking for a new dump truck. I mean, it's got pretty low mileage. You need a new bed on it. I can tell you that. But no, I really don't have a number for you.
Shannon? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mackey.
Do we have an approximate? I mean, like $10, like, or like, I don't even know what the truck costs. I'm not trying to be a smart or make dumb remarks, but I don't even know what it initially cost when we first got it.
Ooh, these things are normal. I think when we bought them, at least the last one we bought from Public Works was around probably $90,000. I think when we quoted out this one as a single axle instead of a tandem, it was closer to about 110 now. So I don't know. I can't tell you how much we're going to get out of it off of Purple Wave. It's kind of a dartboard.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, Shannon?
Yes.
Do you have questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I thought we were voting. No, I don't have any. It's all been pretty well explained.
That's all. All right, very good. And seeing no more questions, we'll go ahead and have a roll call vote, please.
Shannon?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. Thank you. On to our next item, which is the 2020 water and wastewater service fees and rates. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Billy LaPlante, Finance Director. At our last meeting, Carl Brown with Getting Rates presented to the council his report regarding his rate analysis for the water and wastewater and stormwater funds. Suggestions, we've got 3 options tonight. His recommended suggestions are in option 1, of the handout. During that shop, there was some questions about possibly phasing those rates. So we've got an option 2. Carl went through and did an option 2, which is reflected on tables B and C, showing what the rate would need to be this year and also in 2021. We've also shown option 3, which is 4%, which is what was budgeted in the 2021 budget. In order to be able to fund all the operational and the capital needs that were identified in the water and wastewater system study, we need to go with the recommendation from Carl Brown. We don't do that, then we'll need to reassess our capital needs future. Again, would phase in the rate structure to kind of make it less this year. We'd still need to do an increase next year with a 3% cost of living increase, and basically be getting our operational costs for 2020 met. It wouldn't address any capital needs that were addressed during water and wastewater system study. The stormwater rate we're going to bring back to council at a later date. Staff is, again, if we want to move forward with the capital items that were addressed, we should go with option 1. Option 2, we would still have to at some time catch up or reduce our capital expenditures. And again, the third option, the capital addressed.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go ahead and start with questions on a roll call basis. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we'll need to have a motion first for discussion. I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, point of order for a second on the
Please.
options. Which option is, I guess when I was looking through them on the spreadsheet, it was mentioning that one of them lowers all the rates for corporate, basically every style of water under residential, which is a 5/8 line. And then from what I saw, the third option on there was the only one that didn't lower the corporate rates and raise the residential. Am I misstating that or misseeing that?
No, when Carl does his analysis, he looks at the impact of each meter on the system. And so this shows that the service charge for those larger meters is more than what it should be based on his study in comparison to what the residential meter impact is. So it just shifted some of that service charge to the residential 5/8 inch meter and lowered some of those service charges on the bigger meters.
Are we able to, I guess, freeze the corporate rates and work on the residential one, or would we need to table this and move it to the next meeting to do that?
What was your question?
Are we able to table not table, the corporate rates, are we able to freeze those where they're at with no change and give less of a change to the residential rates without too much, I guess, reassessment? Or do we have an option for that?
Yeah, just don't ask me what
We haven't done an option for that. Like I said, Carl, when he does his analysis, he looks at impact system of each meter size. So in his analysis, he's saying that right now, the 2-inch meter, like a 2-inch meter is charged a monthly fee of $40.65. It should only be $37. So that's based on his analysis. So if we go away from and freeze the larger meters, basically disproportionating the impact on the system of what his study said. So, but I wouldn't know what the impact is without probably having him go back and another look at it.
I guess I'm curious because I've received a lot of questions and complaints about property taxes, but I don't think I've ever received a negative complaint from any business owners on water use or anything like that. But for the residents of Bonner Springs, I've received, actually, I mean, almost every resident I've ever talked to that lives in Bonner Springs has complained about their water bill. So if it's, could we create an option, or would I need to make a motion?
I was gonna say, Mr. Mayor, a point of order. Could we go ahead and get a motion on the floor so we can have the discussion, and then if we have to, then we can table it as Mr. Mackey would like to potentially do.
Thank you, Tom.
So we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve water. This is Tom Stevens. I'll make a motion to approve water and wastewater rate and system development fees as presented in option 3.
Councilman Shannon, second.
So it's been moved and seconded for option 3. We'll go ahead and ask for comments for a roll call basis, and we'll go ahead and start.
Shannon?
Councilman Shannon, I like probably everybody else, have some concerns, though I know that we need to move ahead on this, and I totally support that. Definitely looking at option 3. My stance on this is the fact that our families are in, I don't know how to explain it, in a very difficult position right now, some of them, because of what's going on. I understand that that in itself is difficult enough, but trying to put out, more than what we feel we need to have is needed, but yet again, we've got to be cognizant of them. I looked at what Jan and I do. Our water bill for the month was 1.4 thousand gallons. I'm sorry, 1,000, 1.25. Anyway, 1.4. Looking at the option 3, I think this would be something that is what would get us through and still provide enough for us to help our families, but yet again, not put them at a disadvantage. I was looking at the 4%, which on 5,000 gallons, the water is $2.05 and the wastewater is $2.15 for a total of $4.20. I had a question, and that would be that to maybe increase that to a 5 or a 6%, which would get us closer towards option 2 and definitely closer towards option 1, which at 6%, instead of it being $4.20, it would be $6.30. Now, I know this is a lot for us to all to take in, but I do want to remind all of us that we, I can only speak for my own family. We're very blessed in the fact that this would be something that we could do, but I also know that there's a lot of our families here that would not be able to. This would be a hardship, and I think we have to look at that. So maybe, Tilly, this might be something for you to look at. I know option 2 is a hybrid from it's splitting option 1, but using maybe option 3 as Councilman Stevens proposed, maybe increasing the percentage to where we would be able to make up some ground and still provide what we need, and at the same time putting us in a little better position the second year to maybe catch up even more, and hopefully at the end of the second year be close to option 2. Anyway, I'll just wait and hear what everybody else has to say. Thanks.
Mackey?
I guess I'm still on the same page of, does it mess with budgets too much or anything if we're able to, well, I guess we can't table this currently to fit the order or what we've done. We have to go all the way through this motion and we'd have to all vote no or majority no, and then we could recreate another one. Isn't that how that would go?
Could I address something real quick for Councilman Mackey? I don't think the impact would be great. We don't have the 2-inch meter for the service charge on option 1 is $3.65. Meters, those 3 and 4 and 6 inch, we have very few of those. And even the 2 inch, I don't think it's going to be a big impact to restructure those fees on the larger meters, because most of our meters, even our small businesses, are the 5/8 inch meters.
Okay, I'm gonna go off your expertise on this one. If you don't think that it would be more cost to reassess it and try to figure out the valuation of the business reflection, then I'll lean towards the current. The motion was for option 3, which was the I don't have it on one of my screens, the 4% increase. Is that what it was, for clarification?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. I guess I'll stand where I'm at then and listen to the rest of the comments. Thank you, Tilly, for clarifying all of that. I appreciate it.
Thompson?
Tilly, am I understanding, based on this one page, that it says you and the Public Works Director recommend approval of option number 2? Do you still hold to that? Or are we looking more at this number 3?
Does it say that we recommend to? We didn't really make a recommendation. I mean, again, I think to move forward with some of the capital items, I mean, I understand all the things that the council's with, given the current situation. That in order to move forward and do some of the capital things that have been identified, we're going to have to change rates. Whether it's now is the time, that's up to the council.
You're still young. Before you get it, is you lose your sense of smell and taste.
Wood? Do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Gurley?
Yeah, they even before a sore cough, you know.
Gurley, can you repeat? Do you have any questions?
Oh, Lucy this afternoon. Well, I'm on my phone.
Danny, can you unmute yours, please?
Is the court trying to do away with your volunteer?
I think we'll come back to her. Yeah. Kip, do you have questions?
To put it in perspective, I believe if it's $1,200 a year in water, $100 a month. That's $4 more, $48 a year increase on option 3. I would be open to that one, but I think we have a lot of other water information from the studies coming down. So I definitely I would be open for the option 3. 4% seems reasonable to get us through, but I think we have a lot more decisions to be made coming up.
Stevens?
Yeah. If this had happened 2 weeks ago, we're probably going to have a discussion about 1 and 2. But I think considering the current environment, what's happening in our country right now, I think it put a lot of anxiety in a lot of people, and to jump a bill up, $20, $30 a month, I think may create a lot of angst amongst a lot of our constituents. And so we need to make sure our funding is correct, but we may have to maybe reduce that to a point where we can take care of our current needs, but maybe postpone capital improvements for a year or 2. So that's the reason I've kind of leaning towards either an option 3 or some type of hybrid off of option 3, where we make sure we're taking care of our capital needs without having to soak our residents at the current time. No pun intended.
Okay. Reeves?
Yeah, I'm going toward Unit 3 as I have visited with some people today, found some information, but we really need to be looking in the very, very near future when things straighten out about changing these rates and getting back on track to do those things we know we need to do. And so I'm looking at Unit 3 or option 3, or possibly 3.2. If we can add a couple of percentage to that, I would be open to that also. That's all.
Okay. Gurley, did you have comments or questions?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you can hear me. Thank you. I'm having technical issues on my side. I am empathetic because we're all going to feel the crunch of what's happening right now, but I'm also terrified of not getting at least started down the path toward building toward the future with 8,000 residents stuck at home and nobody knows what they're flushing. I'm kind of afraid of a catastrophic issue that we're going to have some major repairs that we don't have the resources stockpiled for. I feel like we've been putting Band-Aid on Band-Aid on Band-Aid, and now we have an infection that has to have surgery, and we just don't have the resources. So I feel like we need to start building even a small amount forward. So I would be in favor of more than 4%.
For the release of the body and all that stuff, But
That's everyone. Are there any other questions?
Mayor, this is Sean. I just wanted to quickly add so that everybody is aware as well. It's my understanding that we do get some of our water, as you all know, from BPU to supplement where when we have sort of peak times. It's my understanding that they're planning to also increase rates this year. Matt, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but I thought that was going to be somewhere around the neighborhood of 9%, something like that, or at least they're still working through that. So we have been made aware of that increase. Again, I can't speak to any reflections that they're having on doing that at this time, but that was a conversation that we did have with BPU or about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So again, just wanted you all to be aware that obviously we pay them the rates that we get charged, so that does decrease the amount of cash that we have on hand because we're paying obviously them more for those expenses.
This is Tom Stevens. If I can ask another question then. At what point in time do we need to have a decision on the table? And this kind of goes back to what Councilmember Mackey had proposed about possibly tabling it, looking to see if there's a way we can create kind of a hybrid between options 2 and 3 that I think addresses some of those concerns that Councilmember Gurley has expressed, as well as some concerns other council members have expressed with the current times. Do we have to have a decision made within the next week or two, or is it something that could be tabled and let staff have a time to put something together for the next meeting?
The only thing I would say, and I'm sure Tilly would agree, is that we need to have, because of the way that we structure our sewer averaging, we need to have this decision. That's why it's on tonight. We would need to have something like this decided today. Again, I think at a minimum, just to maintain our budget, as it was talked about this previous budget cycle, we really need to have that option 3 go into effect. As far as additional conversations and follow up, again, the recommendations that Carl is going off of are based off of our master plan processes in both water and wastewater, ultimately trying to define what it is that we're doing over the short term and the long term, over the next 5 years, basically. So we can bring that conversation back to you all as part of the budget and maybe try to do this with respect to how we lay out the 2021 budget. Again, the only thing I would mention about that is that any time that we're not putting money away and saving for some of these future expenses, that's just one more year that we're behind.
Again, Tom Stevens again. Would it be possible then at this point in time to keep our development fees, monthly minimum charges the same as they have been, or the small increase, but basically using option 3, which was at 4%, but go ahead and maybe go a little bit higher than the 4%, going 5, 6, or 7%, which hopefully starts to put a little bit there, helps those concerns where if we do have some issues, we're not in, we haven't created a crippling situation for our water department, but in the meantime, we're not looking at 30%, $25, $30 increase for our residents.
To add to that, this is Danny Gurley. Is there anything that says we can't make more than one adjustment in a year? If we were to do a slight adjustment now and then in 6 months, do another slight adjustment?
There's nothing that says that you couldn't do that. The only thing I would say is that it's twofold. One, it's a lot to do for city staff to go through and kind of redo all of those. It's also, I guess the only term I can think of is an annoyance. If you're getting hit twice in a calendar year, some people would prefer just to take it all. Again, there's differences on both sides of the fence there, but I would say that there's nothing that says you can't do it at the end of the day.
Understood. Well, in terms of my personal dollar, my water bill runs about $100 a month. I'm fortunate we're both still working. Even at a 10% increase, I absorb $10. I know not everybody's that lucky, but when you boil it down to actual personal residential use, a minimum 6 or 7% increase would put us in a better position we're in now.
That is true.
And also, if you're looking at the options page as well, the reality of the situation is that our water is in far worse financial straits than wastewater. So you'll kind of see that in reality, and this is rough estimate, but for option 2, you're looking at about a 8% increase for wastewater, and then for water, you're hovering around quick math, 15%. Is that right? I just point that out, that if there is some consideration for doing, different percentages in what were presented, that the greatest impact as far as need is concerned is certainly on the water side for the city at this present time. And again, just maybe to
Kelly,
Councilman Shannon.
Sean.
The only thing I was going to say
Tilly,
is just, I'll go quick, Roger. The only thing I was going to mention was that just to illustrate some of the things that we're dealing with on the water side, it does include some, right now we're looking at a multi-phase review of 2-inch water lines that we have throughout our system. So there are certain sections of town that we know have less than ideal water lines. Again, just imagine a 2-inch water line for providing fire flows to a hydrant. So those are the types of things that, again, that this, Rome wasn't built in a day either, kind of analogy here, but those are the types of things that we're trying to get done here is again, to create or to correct rather some defects that we know that we have in our system because we've done that review through that master plan.
Tilly and Sean, Councilman Shannon, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm not really eloquent about it, but still it's there. When I said that option 3 is at 4%, if we were to raise it to 6%, and Councilman Gurley also kind of mentioned this, kind of a hybrid, what kind of a hybrid would it be between option 3 and 2 to increase the percentage enough to where it would give us a little bit of a cushion, but yet again, nothing that is going to drive a hardship on our families, at least for the time being. Not that we're trying to do it at all, but we realize this is the way that things are right now, and things are going up. I don't know what the figures would be on something like that with an additional 2% or 3%. What is that something that could, with the rest of the council, is that something that might help us a lot? Keeping us on the baseline of what's needed, but yet again giving us a cushion. I'll wait for answers.
I do think that the 4% was suggested as a minimum. That's what we've done in the past, or we're used to doing. And 4% was suggested last time as a tolerable minimum.
So if you raise, another 2% to 6%, it'd just be another half of those changes at the bottom as far as the impact to customers. And again, any additional amount would help with future. It's help. It's not going to get us to where option 2 would be, but any additional amount would be beneficial to future years.
Okay.
May I say something?
Please.
Tilly, when you're speaking, a lot of what you're saying is cutting out, but what I think I'm hearing you say is that, and other staff, Sean, is that we still need, in light of what's going on, we still need to build a reserve somehow. Through this master plan, we identified defects, and so we're going to have to deal with those. How would we do that? I know that's not we're not able to determine that right now, but I'm hearing though that we need to prepare for those defects. And option 2 would put us a little closer. But another question along with that I have is, right now, the proposed option is 3. So if we vote no for that, then what do we do at this point? If we're trying to look at hybrids, if we're trying to come up with a different solution, those are 2 different questions there.
Yes, we'd either have to vote down the current motion, or whoever made the motion and seconded it would have to pull them back in a new motion. So seeing no other, Councilman Reeves, did you have something?
Councilman Reeves, you're muted.
Unmute.
Is there any way that we can amend the motion on option 3 to 6% or 7%?
Yes, with both of the people approving that.
Yeah, this is Tom Stevens. I have no issue with amending the option. I just wanted to get, with the motion, I just wanted to get something on the floor for discussion. What I would like is just that assurance from staff that what we're doing is not going to put us in any type of behind the 8 ball on this issue. I think if we go with option 3 and just we decide what percentage, that also addresses the concern that Councilmember Mackey had with the drop on the monthly minimum charge on large businesses, where that was dropping drastically. And we would just basically look at just a unit charge up, increase. Now, did the staff feel that a 6, 7%, 8%, what would be considered a good amount? That's the question. 6%, we would be looking at for a 5,000 gallon residential. At 6%, you're talking about what's 640, 630,
630.
And then if we went 8%, you'd be doubling that at 840. So I hate to go up too much, but on the other hand, we do need to respond to the concerns I think some had, such as Councilmember Gurley, and that we are getting the reserve there to correct the issues that we have and potentially could have with a lot more people living in the city for the next 3, 4, 5 months who are working from home. So if I think, does the staff kind of support, what would they feel best, more comfortable with? 6, 7, 8% increase? I know I'm putting you under the gun.
If we want to keep moving forward and willing to, I would say the 8%. I mean, if you look at, there isn't really an average that you can say that residents use. It all depends on households. If you're looking at a 3,000 gallon, that would be $6 a month. For a 3,000, for 4,000, it's at a little over $7 a month. So
well, I would say go ahead.
That sounds more palatable than option 2.
Right, and at 8%, at 5,000 gallons, that would probably handle the majority of residential. Now, that doesn't mean that commercial isn't going to see a larger increase. Naturally, it's going to be 8%, but their monthly charge is going to be higher because they're going to be using a greater amount of water. But for the residential themselves, 5,000 gallons would probably be towards the upper end of residential. So they'd be looking at about an $8 a month increase. So if it's okay, I'd like to amend the motion to use, I'm not sure the best way to word that, but I'll make a motion to approve I'll amend my motion to approve water and wastewater rate and system development fees as presented in option 3, but using 8%.
And I, Councilman Shannon, support that on the second.
Is it who seconded it?
Sorry, I said second.
Yes.
Muted.
So moved and seconded. Tilly?
Just wanted, so the system development fees that we listed were the ones recommended by Brent. So the percentage increase were on the monthly minimum charges and the per unit charge. So the 8% would be on the monthly minimum and the per unit charge.
So then the motion would read, make a motion to approve water and wastewater rate and system development fees as presented in option number 3 with an 8% increase in, what was it?
The monthly minimum charges and the per unit charge.
Monthly minimum charges and per unit charges. Okay.
I will accept that change.
Restaurants that you can go by and pick up.
Second.
Steve, would you repeat that again?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve water and wastewater rate and system development fees as presented in option number 3 with 8% monthly minimum charges and per unit charges.
And that was made by Councilman Stevens and seconded by Councilman Shannon.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mackey or Councilman Mackey here, that is for both residential and commercial, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Nothing else?
Yeah.
Roll call vote, please.
Yeah.
Kip?
What I was talking about.
No.
Didn't hand his booklets in to Bob, you know, and Bob said, I said, well, how am I going to do it? And Bob said, well, I won't be at school. I said, I guess you can mail it to me, you know, if you wanted to. So I guess he mailed it to Bob. He came back and he sent it to Bob Reed.
I'm not hearing you, Chris.
Wood? Wood, you're muted. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say no at this point. Because I'm
No?
unsure.
Okay. Shannon?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Mack?
Yes to the amended motion.
Thompson?
No.
Stevens?
Unfortunately, yes.
Reeves?
Regrettably, yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay, the motion passes 5-3.
Thank you. I know that's a difficult issue. Moving on to item number 4, resolution number 2020-05, the state of emergency extension. We have a little bit of staff presentation.
Oh, yeah. Today, got back on my grocery order. It's going to be tremendous. And ordered some Tylenol today.
Perhaps not.
I'm not sure who is not muted, but there's a lot of background noise.
No, they're just tossing out everything.
Reeves, we keep catching Gayla's voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quickly with this resolution, under our city code, the mayor has the authority to declare a state of emergency. However, that is a capped time frame. So to extend the state of emergency that had been previously implemented by Mayor Harrington, it needs the full council and mayor to approve. So again, this is a direct reflection of the city's actions to implement what's called a state of emergency. This is more geared towards efforts that we have on the city's behalf to open us up for different types of equipment and personal protective equipment, PPE, for our employees. So again, this would extend the state of emergency that was initially put into place by the mayor remain in effect through May 18th unless otherwise terminated earlier.
Very good. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2020-05, extending the declaring a state of emergency for the city of Bonner Springs.
Councilman Mackey, second.
So moved and seconded. Questions?
Well, I was gonna say,
Questions,
for the audio,
concerns, comments?
we need-
Starting
mention the Mike
by
Thompson?
roll call.
Reeves,
For the audio recording, do we need to make sure Mike Thompson is notified as being the person who made the motion for the audio?
Yes.
yes. Moved by Mike Thompson, seconded by Mackey.
Yeah.
Reeves. Reeves, questions?
No questions.
Stevens,
Let's hope we can kill it early.
Kip,
Yes.
questions? Comments?
No.
Gurley,
No questions.
Wood,
I go along with, I hope we can just get rid of it early. Yeah. Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
questions or comments? Okay, Mackey,
Do we have the ability to rescind this motion or lift it once in the event? So is it executive as well? Like, can he just, can Mr. Mayor just release it, or does it just expire on its own?
It expires on that date, and also unless it's terminated earlier or renewed by the consent of the city council.
Thank you for that clarification.
Shannon,
No questions.
That's it. All right. Roll call vote, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Gurley,
Yes.
Thompson, Mackey,
Yes.
Kip,
Yes.
Stevens,
Well, they're closing the DMVs too. So if your license is expired, you can't do anything. They're just gonna. Oh.
Stevens, your vote, please.
Yes, my vote was yes.
Thank you. Shannon,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
thank you. Reeves, you're mute, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor,
And I vote yes as well.
motion passes.
As much as I would wish we would never have to go through a crisis like this, hopefully this will alleviate some of the difficulty for our city employees as well as the community. On to the next item, ordinance number 2491 pertaining to the 2020 budget appropriations and payments of claims. Sean?
This is an item that effectively what it does is an ordinance that will appropriate, or rather will approve all claims and charges against each fund that has already been approved through the budget process. What this allows Tilly and I to do is to sign for any claims or charges against the city in the event that any future council meetings are canceled. We typically do this at the end of the year each year because we have one council meeting, just to allow us to continue to make payments. Again, these are things that we've already approved to be paid for. But again, this is a directly related to the COVID-19 and the concern for if we can avoid having these things trigger having to have a meeting, we can avoid having these things and having to call a meeting, again, similar to how we handle things at the end of the year. So again, happy to answer any additional questions. This is language, I will say, that has been provided by the League of Kansas Municipalities as a resource as we've been trying to collectively in the state of Kansas deal with the issues with COVID-19.
Very good. I would entertain a motion.
Unmute, Roger.
Sorry. Councilman Shannon, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2491, appropriating the amounts set up in each fund in the budget for the remainder of the calendar year 2020, providing for the payment of all claims and charges against the accounts provided for therein.
Second, Reeves.
Only second. Questions, concerns, comment by roll?
Shannon,
No questions?
Mackey,
Is there an expiration on this particular ordinance? Because it seems like it goes in perpetuity once enacted.
It goes into
cycle.
Yeah, it's through the 2020 budget cycle. It could be rescinded just like any other ordinance at any point in time. Part of why it goes through the calendar year is unfortunately the reality of this situation that we're dealing with is constantly evolving. So to put an end date on it, absent just the end of the calendar year, the suggestion was to just draw it out through the end of the year, and hopefully, obviously, by that time we would be over this particular issue we're dealing with.
So for clarification, this doesn't allow like superseding of just check writing. It's only things that we've already approved?
Correct. So every item so the council approves through the budget process each fund. So you effectively put together how much money we can spend out of each type of fund that we have. So this is just simply saying that any claims that or checks that we have to write against each fund are hereby approved. Typically, you all will approve this on a consent agenda. I will say some cities, this is just a matter of how they do things. They typically won't bring these things through council like this anyway. So again, this isn't a significant change necessarily. We still will provide information related to how expenditures are being spent. But again, this is basically, in a nutshell, if we have to buy paper, we're going to still get that done. We won't wait for the council to approve that expense. We would just write the check and get it paid in the event that we had to cancel any future city council meetings.
I guess I don't really know. I tried to read through it and it seemed it was so much legalese that it was like a reoccurring sentence just written in 5 different ways. So I guess I know how I'll vote. Thank you. You gave my answer. Thanks, sir.
Thompson, any questions or comments?
Thompson, no questions.
Wood,
To me, it only makes sense. I'm fine with it.
Gurley,
No questions.
can you state your name and
Sorry, Curly, no questions.
Kip?
Sean, should there be a cancellation of the meeting, would you report to us when you use it?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you that we're, this is really truly probably more in the event of if we did have to cancel meetings. But again, this is for items that we've already purchased. That again, you guys have you all have approved through the budget process the amount of money that can be spent in each type of fund. What the city staff actually spends that money on is ultimately reviewed by the finance department, first and foremost the department head, the finance department, and myself. We sign 3 signatures go on to a check at this point. This is simply just approving it so that the finance director and city manager can sign these checks and get them paid for, so that we do not have any type of delay in processing, especially now that we're under a quarantine and we have some minimal level staffing that we're going to have to start to be doing here. This just expedites and ensures that we can get things done. But again, to answer your question directly, we'll have a report of claims against the city that we would include in future packets. Again, this is just to make sure that in the event that we don't have meetings, we can get things done the same way that we normally would.
Thank you.
Stevens?
Tom Stevens, I think you've kind of answered the question I was just going to put out there, just to, I guess, ease people's concerns, is that we would still get a listing of all the checks that any payments that are made dispersed out of the accounts. So we would be aware of all payments, correct?
Yes. Yeah. We would include that at future meetings. Again, similar to it would be something that's on the consent agenda at future meetings. And again, this is no different than at the end of the year when we have bills come in December. You all, and it's typically not as formalized as actually having an ordinance like what's in front of you today. You typically would just pass a motion and say the city manager is authorized to sign off on all claims through the end of the year. This is just doing it a little bit earlier and is obviously more of a reflection of the status quo with the COVID-19 issue than it is just simply not having meetings at the end of the year.
Okay. Tom Stevens, no additional questions.
Reeves?
Thank you for all your questions. I did appreciate those on this item.
Seeing nothing else, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Wood?
Yes.
Kip?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
Mackey?
Abstain in the respect of limited government.
Stevens?
Yes.
Reeves?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Gurley?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion passes.
Very good. Thank you all for all the hard work. On to reports. Sean, do you have anything to add?
Just really quickly, obviously with the news over this weekend, as far as Wyandotte County going on a stay-at-home order that does take effect tomorrow, we are continuing to monitor what that means as far as the city of Bonner Springs is concerned, both internally within the organization, We are moving to ensure that we are practicing social distancing within the areas that we can. We are also ensuring that we maintain essential services, public safety, public works, key among them, while again also trying to follow all the suggestions of the CDC, KDHE. There will be some additional information likely in the next few days as far as extension of closures to city facilities to the public. I would only stress that we continue to stay open in as far as we have people available to take calls or to help process anything that folks need. So again, we are standing resolute in our mission to provide services to the public here in Bonner Springs, and we'll continue to do so. There is a lot of information available on within my city manager report as far as different educational things that are out there. I would also tell you to go onto the city website. We do have that front and center for all information related to the city's actions related to the COVID-19. We also are linking to the county. We are working diligently with the county. I do want to thank Wyandotte County for their efforts, as well as their efforts to keep us informed and keep us apprised to goings on there. The mayor and I are included on those conversations on a daily basis on conference calls, as well as several other conference calls that we're taking part of on a daily basis. Again, I just want to thank everybody, the council especially for working with us, city staff, to try to to provide services to the public. And then also, this is a fine example, actually having a virtual meeting, making this available to the public, maintaining transparency in our goings on. So again, I would just like to thank everybody, the public, city staff, council, for their support as we work through these challenging times. Should anybody have any specific questions about what's happening within the city, please feel free to contact us and we'll get you the right information. I would also tell you the Wyandotte County has established a call-in line for self-reporting. If anybody feels like they have symptoms of COVID-19, they're able to go and talk with them. And I would also communicate that KDHE does also have a hotline available for anybody that is needing any type of assistance or clarity as to what is happening in our world right now. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll do my best for a mayor's report, and then we'll see how the council items go. The conference call that Sean mentioned daily has input from the unified government leadership, which has been exemplary, and we greatly appreciate that, as well as input from the Wyandotte County Health Department, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, the University of Kansas Medical Center, Providence Medical Center, all of the public schools, as well as the education centers in Wyandotte County, as well as the United Way and the social services groups, the city of Edwardsville and Bonner Springs, as well as representation from the emergency medical services as they're able to make. So we have a lot of connection with our local partnerships. Also, I've been involved with the Wyandotte County and Johnson County Mayors Association. Every county is working their way through it. Johnson County happens to have a few more numbers than Wyandotte County does at the present time. The numbers you'll see continue to go up. That's not a indication of any problems or lack thereof. We need to continue to encourage all of the citizens of Bonner Springs to mitigate their exposure to this disease and comply with the stay-at-home and limit their contacts. The information provided on our website indicates clearly what those are and what they should do if they start to feel symptoms, what is essential and what isn't. And so if they have any questions, I would refer them there first, as well as if they have or if they have their own health concerns, please, there's specific information on how to enter that gateway to get the help that they need. The public mental health is also a big concern. There's access to resources there as well. So if you have any individuals that reach out to you, please refer them to the Bonner Springs website, and they can access all of those through our website. This is no longer a disaster that's happening to other people. This is affecting our community. We'll all get through it, but I want everyone to take every precaution they can to keep themselves and their families safe. I stand for any questions. Very good. We'll go ahead and start with city council items, and we'll call those by roll.
Shannon? You're muted, Shannon.
I'm sorry, you're muted.
I'm sorry. No questions at all.
Mackey?
This is questions and comments, right?
Please.
I just wanted to mention, if anybody has groceries they want to donate or knows somebody in need, I got in touch with a gentleman. I don't know. He's a young millennial. My generation does still actually do something. His name's Michael Green, and he's taken up charge to start a Facebook kind of page. It's called Coronavirus Relief, and it's spread. It was about 20 people on, I think, last Monday or so, and as of yesterday night when I got off of it, it was about 1,600. So if you know anybody that needs formula, diapers, milk, eggs, some of the essentials, Michael actually has some business contacts that he himself, as well as some of his team members, have been literally going to the store, picking up those items and doing a knock and drop. I wanted to also thank Mayor Harrington, Sean, and Amber of our city for being so quick to respond. I was able to give Mayor a call yesterday. I had some questions about or pertaining to this, and he was one of our only contacts that we got in touch with almost instantaneously. We tried to reach out to a ton of other city officials in different areas, and some of them didn't even ever respond, which I understand. We respected the current situation we're in, but I wanted to mention to everybody that Bonner was totally on their toes, and I thought it was really cool that there wasn't even a hesitation from Mayor Harrington, Sean, or Amber. They got back to me within minutes. So if anybody would like to volunteer or has an interest in that, I've taken up the Wyandotte County portion of it. Michael has been doing Leavenworth County, Atchison area, and a little bit of Casey Mo. I'll pass with that. Thanks, guys.
Thompson?
No issues here.
Wood?
I would like to thank everybody for the positivity that I'm seeing around here. Thank you very much, Bonner Springs.
Gurley?
I have two things. I'm assuming everyone received the email from Senator Braun today. And I think we've had this issue come before us in the past where we have, rather than respond individually, we have chosen to ask that the communications go through Sean so that we as a council communicate as a unit rather than as individuals. Am I correct in that assumption?
I did not receive that or don't recognize it. I did speak with Senator Braun last week personally here at the City Hall and went over some concerns that all cities have with the senator, and that seems like it has been a year ago now, but it was just barely over a week ago. So if you'd forward that to me, I'd be happy to look over that.
Mr. Mayor, if I
I
can.
will. It was simply a request.
I was just going to say is what Councilman Burley was talking about was a year or so ago with Mark Dupree, the district attorney. And
Yes.
if we could maybe have Sean and yourself maybe arrange for Senator Braun to maybe come at a workshop, if once we get over this crap, have him come to a workshop and maybe sit down. We can, as a council as a whole, during a workshop, have those discussions.
Sounds like a good idea.
Thank you. My second item, Sean, can you speak briefly to the staffing of city services? Are all of our people either able to come to work or work from home so that we're not in danger of putting anyone out of income right now?
Sure. What we are doing, I met briefly this morning with department heads, and what I've asked them, each department, to do is to basically review their operations and kind of make those calls with their input of their staff. So we did provide some guidelines for ultimately what sort of working from home looks like. So we are going to start to do that where appropriate, allowing folks to work from home, setting them up with that type of equipment that they may need. We've also, as I alluded to before, tried to create an environment that maintains the social distancing. So by way of example, we responded to a public works call, I think today, for an issue, and we had 3 people show up in 3 different trucks. Again, not the most highly efficient way to run things, but again, what we're trying to do is to minimize the potential, especially with a smaller organization like we have, that if one person gets sick within a department, there's several departments that are, departments of 2 or 3. So we are doing that and being cognizant of that, while also making it clear that we are working with folks with accrued leave. That's one thing I would note that we are fortunate to have in the city of Bonner Springs is employees are provided paid sick and vacation time to utilize. So that's something that we are reminding folks of doing. And I will also mention, as I think we all know, that the legislature, the U.S. Senate and House passed legislation last week and was signed, the COVID-19 First Families Response Act, I believe. That does spell out some particulars related to paid leave for a period of time, as well as expansion of FMLA. So we are actively trying to understand what that means. Like I think most businesses are trying to do is what that actually means. It's my understanding the Department of Labor will have some guiding principles. They're actually required to, within that legislation, provide some documentation to share with employees. So we are doing everything we can to keep operations going as much as we can, while also being cognizant of exactly what your question was, which is that we don't want people to choose between coming to work sick or not coming to work, those types of things. But again, I would say that we are fortunate that we do provide the city paid sick and paid vacation time, and we are treating that somewhat as PTO as well, with regard to the ability to use that a little bit more flexible than what we typically have. And I will say we have placed or made some changes in policies. Just one little thing is that we aren't requiring a doctor's note for over 3 days if used during this time for medical reasons. So again, you don't need to bring a doctor's note in. We are advancing things, obviously, with our sick pool. We do allow for donations to sick pool if somebody does need to have additional time allocated to them. We work through those things. So again, I think we're we're doing a really diligent job of trying to communicate all these things to city staff while also understanding that it seems like every day it changes. I'm sure we're all feeling that in our own private businesses, our businesses rather, just exactly what this means to our employees. So we are twofold, trying to maintain city services that are essential to the public and city of Bonner Springs, and also being cognizant that we are an employer and we do have to look out for the well-being of our employees as well.
For those who may be working from home, will that require expenditure on equipment, or do we have things already that could be put into place?
Thankfully, we do have a lot of equipment. I would say we do have tablets that we've made available to folks. The police have actually upgraded recently a lot of their tablets, so those are also available for our use. And the only other thing that I will mention is that we are fortunately maybe on a few different applications a little bit behind still, but we have started to go through and put a lot of our process software into the cloud or those types of software applications. So we are set up in some instances better than others. Payroll, as an example, we can process payroll remote. We can make sure people are getting paid. The processing of bills that are payable to other other entities, that's a little more complicated because we're just not quite there yet with some of the advancements we're making there. So we are, I think we are doing pretty well on equipment, and again, trying to make sure that if folks are able to work from home, that they are working from home and they're set up for success as far as getting things done, as well as being able to remote in via their phones, their cell phones to their table phone or their office phone rather. So again, this is just something that, as I explained to staff, we just need to be flexible and we need to be innovative as far as how we're approaching this over the next several days, several weeks.
Thank you. Gurley, nothing further.
Okay. Kip?
Thank you, staff, first responders, everyone that's working hard to keep us safe and our city running. Thank you very much. I was honored to have Councilwoman Wood join me here tonight. And when she showed up in my driveway, the girl said, "Hey, your boss is here." So I got put in my place pretty quick. But stay safe and thank you all for all you do.
Stevens?
Councilmember Stevens, I kind of want to reiterate what Councilmember Kip just stated. Real heartfelt thanks to all the staff members from the office staff to public works to public safety. In times like this, it does require a little bit of dedication to go beyond the normal call of duty, and we do appreciate, because for many of those workers, sometimes they're really putting themselves in a little bit of harm's way. So I'm glad the staff and Sean is working to make sure that everybody is taken care of, is protected, and if they do get sick, hopefully are made whole and do not financially suffer from it. So once again, thanks to the staff. Tom Stevens, nothing else.
Reeves?
Just thought I would mention that Bonner Springs does have a connection with the first person in the area to die from COVID virus was Dennis Wilson, a former teacher in Bonner Springs. Jordan, you might remember him. I don't know if you do or not. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. And thanks to everybody else. Thanks to all medical workers that are doing above and beyond their call. Thank you.
Thank you all. Chief Knaff, do you have something to add?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you for being involved. appreciate all you and your personnel are doing. I've seen all of them going above and beyond. Also, I'd like to recognize the passing of a former councilman this last week, Councilman Jack Knight, passed suddenly, and this crisis affected his memorialization process, but he was a great community servant, and he'll be greatly missed. This crisis is not over. We will continue to lead by example, and I appreciate working shoulder to shoulder with all of you council people, as well as the city staff has already gone above and beyond, and we will be tested. And I know Bonner Springs will survive and do greatly, will blossom. Thank you all.